All right, welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom, and as always, this is not financial advice. Today, I want to go through Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. We're going to do this weekly edition. I want to talk about what happened last week, the last couple of weeks also, year to date. Also, I want to talk about what is ahead for this week. In addition to that, all the Bitcoin miners reported their monthly operational report for the month of August last month, so we're going to look at that a little bit as well. So we got a lot to go through. If you're new here, we talk about Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners all the time on this channel. If that is content that you're interested in, please consider subscribing to the channel. And also, if everybody could help us out by smashing the like button, we're going for 300 likes. It really does help a lot. And I want to thank everybody. On the last two videos in a row, we did get 300 likes, so it's much appreciated. I'll start out by saying on Monday morning, Bitcoin, as the time I'm making this video, Bitcoin tends to be rallying a little bit. We're going to see what happens. Last week was a very difficult week. We're going to look at it by the numbers, but Bitcoin did hold up over the weekend. It held a very important line of support. So we're going to see if for the short term, potentially if there is a bottom in. Now, I will warn you, we've been fooled time after time. We're now 6 months into Bitcoin going sideways and drifting downward. So with that in mind, let's take a look at what happened to the Bitcoin miners last week. Okay, again, this is just 1 week. This is last week. So as always, you're going to see Bitcoin in gold down 9%. All 12 of the Bitcoin miners that we are following, these are the 12 largest Bitcoin miners that are publicly traded in the US. All 12 of these were in the red. They all underperformed Bitcoin. Some of these were down considerably. So at the top of the list was Core Scientific, down 10%. That was the best performer on the week. I want to go to the bottom of this list because some of these really got decimated. And then bear in mind, next we're going to take a look at what happened in the previous week, because this is not giving back some gains that we got the previous week. In the previous week, also all 12 Bitcoin miners were in the red. So this is 2 straight weeks, but we'll get to that in a minute. On the bottom of this list is CleanSpark, down 24%. They did report some news the previous Friday after the market closed, and then there was a long holiday weekend here in the US. But just remind everybody, CleanSpark filed that they're going to have a special meeting to approve going from 300 million authorized shares to 600 million authorized shares. So again, that's not an at-the-market offering. It's not immediate stock dilution, but it is doubling the amount of shares they're authorized to sell. So that does obviously indicate, the chance for a lot more potential dilution going forward. The market did not like that at all. So CleanSpark was in last place last week, down 24%, but not by far. Digital was down 23%. Cypher was also down 23%. Now, Cypher did do a $600 million at the market offering last week. So that's one of the reasons they were at the bottom of this list. But you're going to see these did not grossly underperform the rest of the Bitcoin miners. All the Bitcoin miners had a rough week. Marathon, which is the largest Bitcoin miner by market cap, was down 20% last week. So that is a brutal week. Iron was down 19%. And then you can take a look at the rest of these. Most of the rest of these were, between 14 and 17%, but it was a very tough week for all the Bitcoin miners last week. And then just very quickly, I'm going to go to the previous week. So this was 2 weeks ago. So this does not look much better. So 2 weeks ago, every Bitcoin miner was in the red. Bitcoin was down 8%. So this is back-to-back weeks that Bitcoin had big moves to the downside, 8% and 9%. And the Bitcoin miners got beat up right along with them. So we are 2 weeks into the Bitcoin miners having a very rough run. We're really months into the Bitcoin miners having a very rough run. And that leads me to, I want to take a look at where they're at year to date, because for 10 of the 12 Bitcoin miners, they are negative year to date. Okay, so here we go. This is the chart, Bitcoin miners year to date. And as you're going to see, there are 2 in the green. Core Scientific is up 68% year to date. This is way off of its highs, but still up 68%. TeraWolf up 55%. This is also way off of its highs. It's down over 50% in the last few weeks, but still up 55% on the year. These two are in the green and they are outperforming Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now only up 27% on the year. And I say only because Bitcoin is trading in the mid 50,000s right now, and it did get as high as 73,800 back in March. So for the last 6 months, we've been trading sideways and trending downward. So you can see Bitcoin still positive, but 27%. And then the rest of the Bitcoin miners, 10 of the 12 Bitcoin miners are in the red year to date. Iron and CleanSpark in particular, Iron's down 10%, CleanSpark's down 27%. It's worth noting that 3 months ago, These were the two best performing Bitcoin miners by a mile. And just 1 month before that, in the middle of May, CleanSpark was the only Bitcoin miner in the green out of all 12 of the Bitcoin miners that we follow. So you can see over the last several months, CleanSpark has had a very rough run. So although it's not at the bottom of this list year to date, over the last couple of months, it has been dramatically underperforming. And then it just goes down from there. You're going to see all the way down to the bottom. You've got Riot down 59% on the year. So Riot is getting absolutely decimated this year. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys think about Riot? Riot right now is in the middle of trying to do a hostile takeover of Bitfarms. I did get a lot of feedback on the channel that retail investors seem to not like this move at all. So if you have any thoughts, drop in the comment section what you think about both that potential hostile takeover and what's Riot's doing overall in general. Because like I said, they are in last place, down 59% year to date. Marathon, the largest Bitcoin miner by market cap, they are down 43% year to date. So you'll see there's not a lot of good news on this. One thing I've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 months on the channel is that I think the Bitcoin miners are going to have a very hard time really making their strong move to the upside until Bitcoin gets outside of this trading range. So let's just quickly go take a look at the trading range that I'm talking about. Okay, so this is Bitcoin on the 1-day time frame, and you can see this goes back to March 13th when Bitcoin hit its new all-time high. So this was over 73,000, around 73,600, and since then we have been trading up and down in a channel for 6 full months. So I've been talking on the channel a lot about the fact that until Bitcoin breaks out of this pattern, if you look at where we are right now, the top of this descending wedge, the way I have it drawn, is somewhere around $68,000 or $69,000. So I do think we need to break out of the top of this and really take out the previous all-time high at, just between $73,000 and $74,000. Once we get to that and the bull market, the next phase of the bull market starts, that's when I expect the Bitcoin miners to make a big move. Now, that is my personal opinion. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. First of all, we don't even know when or if we're going to break out of the top side of this range. So the other thing that I will say is this sideways consolidation for this 6 months period of time, we've been talking a long time on the channel as well. This is very, very typical for the Bitcoin 4-year cycle. So while there are some reasons to believe that ultimately this will turn around and head in the right direction, right now we are very, very much stuck inside of a range for Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin miners are being punished in a big way for it. So you'll see on the 1-day time frame, Friday, while we were doing our Friday live stream, we do a Friday live stream every Friday after the market closes, so you're welcome to join us. We would love to have you. Bitcoin was testing the bottom of this range. In fact, during the live stream, this little candle wick below the bottom of this line, that's where we were Friday after the market closed. So Friday was a very big test, but once again, like the other several times we've tested the bottom of this range, it continues to hold up. So Friday was no different, and you can see once we bounced off the bottom, Saturday was a green day, Sunday was a green day, and so far as of making this video, Monday has been a green day. Now, we don't know how much longer that will continue, but for the meantime, we did hold the bottom of this range again. That is reason for a little bit of optimism at the moment. I want to talk about a couple of other things that I think are trending in the right direction to show that maybe we're going through a bottoming process, at least in the short term. Okay, so this is the Bitcoin spot ETFs. And what I wanted to show you is going all the way back to August 27th. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trading days in a row that the ETFs have had outflows. This has only happened a few times since the Bitcoin spot ETFs were approved back in January. And each time this happens, it corresponds with a big dip in Bitcoin, which makes sense. Obviously, this is one of the big buyers of Bitcoin, these ETFs. And you can see during this same time frame, BlackRock had all zeros. It even had one negative day. BlackRock has only had 2 outflow days in the entire time that this ETF has been open. So that they were actually the best performer out of these spot ETFs. Altogether, over an 8-day period, this was well over $1 billion of outflow. So this is a big part of the reason that we pushed down and retested the bottom of our trading range as of Friday. So oftentimes when this happens, this shows that we're very near the end, at least in the short term. There can be a bounce. The last few times this happened, this did reverse. So again, that's no guarantee that it will happen this time. but this is showing us one of the big reasons why we retested the bottom of this range. That, along with the fact that we are right now at 26 on the fear and greed index, which is fear. But I want to go down. If we take a look at the chart itself, you're going to see on Friday we were at 22. So that was extreme fear. And on Saturday we were at 23. So we did get to extreme fear for 2 days. That also is usually a signal that we are somewhere putting in a bottom for Bitcoin, at least a local bottom. So while this does not sound like good news, all these things put together, a lot of outflows, 8 days in a row of outflows in the ETFs, hitting extreme fear on the fear and greed index, at least that could indicate we're going to get some short-term relief anyway. You know, from a longer-term standpoint, we don't know where we go. And again, if we look at this, this is the third green day in a row. Now we're a long way away from today's candle closing, so we're going to see what happens the rest of the day. And we've had some big reversals in the middle of a day. So obviously we will wait and see, but Saturday was a good day, Sunday was a good day, and we did hold this line of support. The other big thing that I did want to talk about, I think it's important everybody understand that on Wednesday, before the market opens, we are going to get CPI data, which means if you want to do anything to trade this, you need to do it by the end of the day Tuesday. We got the jobs report last week. That caused another downward turn in the market. The CPI data has been the biggest data point of the month, most of the months for the last several years now. So that is coming out again this Wednesday before the market opens. And one of the things that has me a little bit concerned, you're gonna see on this chart last month, this came in at 2.9%. That is the best reading we've had in 3 years. But the expectation for this month is that it's gonna come in, the consensus you'll see here is that it's going to come in at 2.6%. So month over month, that would be dramatically better than last month. That would be the best month we've had in 3 years. So I always get a little worried when expectations are so high. If we could still have a good number. 2.8 or 2.7 would be still the best number we've had in 3 years, yet it would miss this consensus. Now, I think anywhere from 2.6 or 2.7 will be just fine, but if we got another 2.9 or 2.8, it's possible the market could reject that and have a bad day, even though it's one of the best numbers we've had in years. So there's no telling how the market's going to react, but the market oftentimes has big reactions on the day that this data comes out. So I just want to give everybody a big heads up that CPI data is coming. So lastly, all 12 Bitcoin miners did put out their August monthly operational update. I just want to take a note. We will do a deep dive on this in another video, but you're going to see 11 of the 12 actually mined less Bitcoin in August than they did in July. That is due in large part due to the fact that there was a gigantic increase in the network difficulty level on July 31st, which means for the month of August, it was much harder to mine Bitcoin. The outlier here was Iron. They actually mined 10% more Bitcoin in the month of August than in the month of July. Marathon, Cleanspark, and Hive were down only 3%, so those were the next best in line. Again, we're gonna do a deep dive on this and I'll go into these numbers more. I just wanted to show these real quickly. So that's everything that I have for you on Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. Thanks so much for watching. If you made it this far, please remember to smash the like button and also consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next video.